Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Daniel Sachs. Daniel is the co-founder and CEO at Landbase. Daniel, welcome to the show.
JP, thrilled to be here. I'm ready for action.
And we're delighted to have you. So let's jump straight in. Daniel, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with all of our guests. Can you give us a little bit of a summary of your background in technology and what your journey has been from where you started, sharing maybe some of the roles you've held along the way, and what's led you to where you are today as the co-founder and CEO at Landbase?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Niagara Falls, Canada, and my family had a furniture store, which was a family business started by my great-great-grandparents in 1908. And it was really our core identity. It was on Main Street. It was called Sachs Furniture, and it was where my whole family got pride. And I grew up in the store, and many kind of different experiences marked me in growing up in a family business. But one thing you recognize is that revenue and customers are the lifeblood of any business. So the whole goal is how do you get more people in the store, more people knowing about the product that you're selling. And that was really core to my journey. One other thing that I always found is that from the youngest of ages, I was obsessed with business biographies and people who have had built transformative businesses. And when I was 12 years old, Bill Gates became the richest person at the time. And kids would normally want to meet like a sports, like an athlete or a celebrity, and that would be their dream. My dream was to meet Bill Gates. So I sent him a handwritten note, and he responded to me with a signed autograph, which is maybe a little funny, but I still have that, and I left it up in my room. But he just encouraged me to have strong vision and to go for it in life. And that kind of experience of just cold outreaching and getting a response is a technique that I've used many times in my life. So fast forward to 2008, I was graduating from university, and after 100 years in business, my family furniture store went under. And I really attributed that because we didn't have access to the lack of capital and technology that other companies would. And by coincidence, I was visiting my friend in San Francisco at the time, and I landed on a flight and I got a free ticket to this Web 2.0 conference. And by chance, I went to the conference and I learned about the early days of software as a service in cloud. And this was like Salesforce had emerged, but not many people knew about applications. And it was very early days of software as a service. But I had this strong burning conviction that if my family would have had access to these software as a service tools, it would have fundamentally transformed their business and allowed them to compete and stay in business. And because I saw all the pride and excitement that my family had of having a business on Main Street, as well as all their friends that had the butcher shop or the sports store or the boot shop, I really hoped that there would be a world where entrepreneurs can thrive. So I co-founded AppDirect, which is now the largest commerce platform for reselling technology services. So at the time, we started it out of a business, and the vision was that we could help businesses find, buy, and manage these software as a service tools that could help them be more productive. But if you fast forward to today, AppDirect does over $3 billion in annual tech sales, which kind of means that cumulatively, we've probably helped generate $20 billion in sales, impacting millions and millions of businesses, helping them transform through digital technologies. And I co-ran that business as co-CEO for the better part of 15 years. And over those 15 years, a lot of interesting tech trends emerged, whether that be IoT or crypto or Web3 or even generative AI. But to me, none of those things hit as being as transformative as the shift from on-premise to cloud. However, Agentic AI, which is AI that takes action on your behalf, in my view, is the next big thing that's going to be 5 times bigger than the current SaaS and cloud markets. And that's why I founded Landbase.
Thank you so much for that, Daniel. I appreciate you sharing it. And obviously entrepreneurial from your early days and a very successful first iteration of your business doing incredible numbers. But as you just alluded to, you're looking ahead and you're seeing where the next biggest impact is in agentic AI. I think you and I are very much in agreement from our previous conversation. So let's set the stage. Tell us all about Landbase, who you are, what you do, mission of the business.
So as I shared earlier, what I understood from the youngest of ages is that the lifeblood of any business is revenue. And in order to create revenue, you need to generate demand and consistent pipeline of opportunities for people coming in. And there's many strategies in which you can do that. In fact, oftentimes businesses' largest expense is the sales and marketing that goes into driving demand that will convert to revenue. However, those functions have been faced with like many siloed teams, many manual repetitive tasks, and therefore costs can get like far bloated relative to where they need to be. And what agentic AI can be particularly good at is generating a quantifiable outcome. What gets me excited about AI is not just generative AI and large language models, which understand natural language and create content that you can chat with. But I think what's more interesting is the next frontier of large action models, which is what I call agentic AI, which instead of just communicating in natural language, these action models can take action on your behalf. So my belief is that over the last decade, while SaaS has made us more productive, it's also resulted in us living in front of our screens. If you're a salesperson, you're living in CRM. If you're in HR, you're living in your ERP. And that's not fun. It's resulted in us being less human. Our mental health's not good. It's really bad. And I think that you shouldn't work for your software should work for you. And that's the promise of agentic AI, is that if it's trained and understands enough context, it can make decisions much faster and with more context than you can. And specifically, if I dive into the technology, reinforcement learning with human intervention is an approach to train these AI models in order to go through many scenarios and predict the outcome that's going to be most successful. What really enabled OpenAI and all these GPT models was a paper out of Google that was called Attention is All You Need. And that really laid the groundwork for the transformer models, which is what we're using today. One other interesting breakthrough in technology and history was the AlphaGo proof points, where people proved that they could have a machine outperform humans at a very sophisticated game. And that was using this concept of reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning can be particularly good if it's trained on a quantitative reward. So something like, how do you automate engineering or QA? That can be fairly quantitative. Now, sales and marketing traditionally has been an incredibly subjective and qualitative approach. However, really what you're trying to do is just optimize toward generating a lead, which tends to be a very quantitative reward. In theory, AI can be very good at driving outcomes that will convert to revenue if fed with the right information. However, the public internet or web does not have sufficient information to be able to predict the outcome of leads. So language models like OpenAI and others have really developed by scraping the world's publicly available information and then having data labelers from Scale AI drive more accuracy around it, which means they have these big context windows. So they have to understand everything in the world, and they're getting better and more accurate about understanding natural language. However, they're not designed in any way to optimize for a reward, such as generating a lead. And in order to create models that do, you need to feed it with proprietary information. And that's the secret sauce to Landbase, is that our team has been working in machine learning models and technology around go-to-market for over a decade. And we have the secret sauce to aggregating many different data sources. This includes things like firmographic information of business locations, revenue, business types, industry types, but it also extends into things like signals and triggers of actions that might happen that could require you to quickly act on an opportunity. It also includes performance data, and this is this really secret sauce, performance data on campaigns worked in habit. So what we've been able to do is aggregate and pre-train our models with over 40 million campaigns and billions of parameters of data, which means that we can understand the context of any business, so the seller, and any business in the eyes of the buyer, and we can predict the likelihood that a specific campaign or message will convert. And what that does is allows us to be far more efficient and effective at executing campaigns that are going to work. And that also means we dramatically reduce spam or reduce waste from your business that would have gone into costly manual processes that were destined to fail in the first place. So that's simply what we do is we help businesses generate leads. But the way we do it from an AI perspective is by building our large action model.
The timing of having this conversation with you couldn't be better. In the last few weeks, you've had several exciting announcements, product launch, and then also funding. So why don't you just walk us through what's been going on the last few weeks, because it's incredibly exciting.
We really appreciate that, JP. So 2 weeks ago, we announced our seed funding and came out of stealth. We raised a $12.5 million seed round backed by top investors, including Joe Lonsdale, who is the co-founder of Palantir and runs one of the leading VC firms, 8VC, of which I've been an advisor to. Kevin Hartz, who was the co-founder of Eventbrite, also of Zoom, which sold to Microsoft. And then he was the first investor in Airbnb and Pinterest, so one of the most prolific angel investors of all time, amongst another group of amazing institutional investors. So we're very grateful for that support. And then just yesterday, we announced our series of machine learning models, of which we call GTM-1 Omni. So if you think about it, just OpenAI has GPT 3.5 or 4, and then 4 Omni. Landbase just released our first series of models, which are go-to-market models. So we're calling it GTM-1. And then Omni representing omni-channel and multimodal. So our models can predict campaign outcomes across inbound and outbound strategies, ranging from phone, email, text, ads, and others. And then also multimodal, meaning that the campaigns that we can run could be text-based, voice-based, or even video-based. So a super exciting advancement to the world. And these models truly are a breakthrough in the way that businesses can execute their go-to-market.
Given the recent announcements of product launch and announcing major stealth investment from marquee names, when you look at the near-term roadmap, particularly the next 6 to 12 months, what are you excited about? What's on the agenda, and what's going to be the work required, both from building out the capabilities and also bringing in the customers? Talk us through how you see the next 6 to 12 months going for you and the team.
What's fundamentally interesting and mind-blowing is that these machine learning models in this era move so fast, and they move in like breakthrough moments. Whereas with traditional software, there were laws to how you scale. And with AppDirect, I was grateful to be one of the first unicorn. And in order to do that, you needed to triple your revenue and then double after. And that got you unicorn kind of valuation. In this world, breakthrough companies like OpenAI that have unprecedented revenue growth, it's just never been seen before. And I understand why. It's because there's no limit to the way you scale, because the AI is coming up with these breakthroughs that just have far better ROI than you would have ever expected. So every week I'm mind blown by the advancements of technology, both inside Landbase, but as well as outside in the broader ecosystem of research institutions and companies that we can quick adopt. So really what we see on the landscape for Landbase in the next 6 months is to deliver end-to-end capabilities for your business to fully automate their go-to-market. What that means is that we can execute any type of inbound or outbound strategy, as well as nurture campaigns. So if I break that down, on the outbound side, that's helping you execute outbound lead generation, which could be happening over email, direct mail, phone, calls, text, as well as LinkedIn. So that's omni-channel outbound. And what we've done there is built a full end-to-end workflow and orchestration engine that just executes that for you on your behalf. We did testing with Copilot modes, and we found that it's a far better ROI to just do autopilot with human intervention. So as a business owner or CRO or account executive, you can constantly get leads and ideas and approaches. And if you want to keep the guardrails tight to minimize hallucinations or things going wrong, you can be in the approval flow, but all you have to do is do thumbs up, thumbs down, or swipe right, swipe left. And that allows you to just move so much quicker in your business. So the next is inbound. One of the things that we did is we did a mass machine learning exercise to understand what's the secret sauce to driving campaigns that have success. And what we found is that 45% of campaigns full out fail. And that actually correlates with what we hear from businesses. Some people say, like, I hired a sales development rep and they did zero. It was a total waste of money. I had spent 100 grand and they ramped up and they did nothing. Or they'll say, I adopted all these fancy tech tools and literally generated zero leads. Or they'll say, hey, I outsourced to a sales agency firm and they did nothing for me. And what we tried to figure out is, okay, why is that happening? And oftentimes people think it's about like the message itself or that the rep wasn't good enough. But what we actually found is that in 45% of cases, the reason why campaigns fail is because the sender does not have credibility in the eyes of the receiver. What that means is that the online or digital presence of a business is just not sufficient to build trust with that buyer. And we were able to quantify what that means. And we were able to augment, take actions, what I call inbound actions, in order to boost your digital credibility. So what we found in some of these scoring areas is that you need to have a modern website that has relevant case studies and that's architected in a way that's easy to navigate. And I'm oversimplifying it, but there's very specific actions you can take in order to improve. Other areas is, what's your sentiment analysis? So what are people saying about you? That could be credible industry analysts. It could be journalists like the Wall Street Journal. It could be how you show up in ratings and reviews online. Many times businesses have no idea about what the internet thinks of them. And we can actually quantify that and then give tangible actions on how to prove your brand. The other thing is just relevance and personalization. So if you want to sell, you need to showcase a case study that worked that's relevant to the business that you're trying to sell to. So we can also hyper-personalize content that can be much more relevant. So the idea is that by combining inbound and outbound products and capabilities, you'll have much better sales efficiency and your business can start running on much more autopilot to generate leads from businesses.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Daniel, I want to spend a little bit of time now talking about the core team that you brought in to help you build the business, leveraging their own prior knowledge in the space, but also their understanding of AI and getting AI into action. Can you describe the team and the culture that you've built? And then with the recent strategic funding and the incredible growth ahead, what is the business going to look like over the next 12 to 24 months? Where do you see the growth happening from an individual team member perspective?
Excellent. So if we start from the team, the first person I brought on board as like my co-founder is Emily Zhang. And we first met when actually she was at Harvard Business School. She wrote the case study on AppDirect. So there's a Harvard Business School case study that's taught in class even today. And she was the student that authored that case. And that's how I got to know her. She went on to run some of the earliest ML and AI initiatives at eBay, and then was on the early team of Carta, which went from a very small company when she started to over 8 billion in market cap when she left. And then she co-founded Oyster as the inaugural product leader. And Oyster was one of the fastest growing unicorns ever that went from 1 million to 12 million in revenue in 12 months. And so she came on board early on when we were just ideating around some of these early advancements in technology. And it's actually funny, but she definitely had more AI acumen than I had. I was really focused on SaaS and digital transformation, but she was keeping pace with which was happening in the OpenAI worlds. And last night, I actually was just at an OpenAI dev day, and Sam Altman was there. So we were just at the bar last night. But it's great to see the advancements that have happened from OpenAI and other foundational models that have led to the enablement of agentic AI and making things like Landbase possible. Our chief data scientist, he was a PhD in neural networks at Stanford and was one of the earliest people working on machine learning models for go-to-market. He was on the co-founding team of Everstring, which was a Sequoia and Lightspeed-backed company that got bought by ZoomInfo. And he most recently ran Gen AI at ZoomInfo. We also have Raheem, who is one of the best engineering leaders I ever worked with at AppDirect, who came on board as CTO. And he's responsible for building out the core platform elements, but also ensuring the integrity, security, and trust of the platform, which is paramount for us. We also on the co-founding team have Yi Jin, who is a PhD and a NASA rocket scientist, before turning into a data-driven growth marketer. And he's focused on, with us, on kind of growth marketing and really helping bring the best in class kind of magic that's being created in the AI world to our platform and to our customers. So that's kind of part of our core founding team. And we are looking for data science and engineering talent, full stack engineering. We are a Python stack, so definitely we'll be collaborating on scaling out the team. And in terms of the kind of traction that I'd anticipate in the next 14 to 24 months, we've grown tremendously. In my view, what's cool about these AI companies is that small teams can go really far. So you don't need to bloat your team in terms of headcount, but you need to focus on very specialized talent and creating a phenomenal engineering culture. So we're focused on very high quality bar. However, we do anticipate massive growth in both the go-to-market. Since launching, we hit all of our targets that we had for the year within the first week. I've had Landbase book 100 meetings for me a week in 30-minute increments. I actually had to cancel some so I could make time for this podcast. Last weekend, I actually lost my voice because I talked too much the week before. And I have coffee and Halls and CeBIT call right in front of me so I can flawlessly take off this podcast before I lose my voice again.
Well, no sign of it faltering, Daniel, mainly because what you're talking about is so important that you're able to sum it up. Look, I want to finish on a final question, which stays on the topic of people. Hearing you outline the core leadership team that you've assembled, it's an all-star stellar cast, which, as from a prior successful startup, early days, people are drawn to the people as much as they are the product. So it sounds like you've got all the makings of building an incredible company. But the challenge is to attract talent, and this very well. When you're speaking to people, particularly in the world of AI, and you're talking to a candidate that you feel could add value to Landbase, what is it that you tell them about Landbase, its mission, its people, that gets them excited enough to join you guys over some of the other incredible startups also operating and competing for the same talent?
So I think what's interesting about Landbase is we have the potential to be more than just a company or a product or even an AI model. We have the potential to start a movement. And what that movement is the ability to reclaim your day. And that's our brand promise. Over the last decade or plus, people have had to work for their software, and we think that your software should work for you. Now, what that means is if you're a professional, you've probably been used to, particularly since 2020, being glued to your screen, literally. Your mental health has probably been an issue. And there's a world where you can close your eyes and fast forward 10, 15 years, and you think, wow, we're just going to be sitting in a room hooked up to Neuralink, eating really shitty food, the climate's going to be screwed, and our kids won't have fertility, and everyone's going to be living really boring, terrible lives. Maybe there'll be mass unemployment, war, etc. My view is that if you flip the other side of the coin, this AI has the potential to dramatically change the way people work. It can do work for you, so you can go do the things that you love and reclaim your day. That could mean that you're going to put more emphasis or time into true breakthroughs in climate technology, in biosciences, life sciences, to really figure out ways that people can be healthier and better and live better lives. It could be that you want to reclaim your day and spend more time with your family. It could be that you want to do passion projects that you have. But we really think that humans are meant to be doing things in the real world, and the technology should work for you so you can do those other things. And I think that's a very optimistic, amazing view. So the whole concept of the Landbase brand, and you can check it out at landbase.com, is that we want people to be more in nature. We want people to be more human. And I think what this movement can represent is a push toward more human software, not AI that's going to take over all your jobs and you're going to live in this dystopian world. So I think what that means for the talent that's joining Landbase, we have a very important mission to both free people from their technology and truly help businesses with the key lifeblood that is the most important problem that faces any business, which is generating leads that convert. And in doing so, we can really transform the way people interact on a day-to-day basis and hopefully create a much happier, healthier world.
Daniel, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. I was really looking forward to this one. I'm glad we finally got it done and at the perfect time with all the exciting announcements. Appreciate you sharing your own background, your success story, but most importantly, the amazing new business that you're building with Landbase, focusing on AI in action. It's an exciting time, lots of growth in store, and this is a service and a platform that is applicable to all businesses, all industries. I'm excited to see what you guys can accomplish, and I look forward to having you back on the show again in the very near future.
Thank you so much, JP. Really appreciate it and love that you're advocating for AI in action. I think the future is all about agentic AI or action models. So I'm excited to stay tuned for your future podcasts.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.